Imagine the desolate dawn over south-central Ramadi, Iraq. Uh, Apache gunships overhead. They're taking fire while a Charlie platoon sniper team is holding Overwatch deep in enemy territory. This isn't just some, glorified war
Oh,
story.
no, not at all. It's the intense, pretty harrowing reality where two U.S. Navy SEAL officers, Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, they drew out some really vital leadership lessons from that.
Right. Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. We unpack complex ideas, surprising insights, help you get well informed fast.
And today we are diving into a stack of insights from Willink and Babin's book, Extreme Ownership. It's pretty impactful. They've translated their combat experiences into these actionable leadership principles.
Yeah, principles that apply to basically any team, any organization, even just life situations, really.
Absolutely.
So our mission today is to cut through the noise, distill the most important nuggets from their time in Ramadi. This city, it was called the deadly epicenter of the Iraqi insurgency back in 2006.
Yeah, U.S. forces controlled only about a third of the city then. They were up against this brutal insurgency, well-armed, really determined enemy fighters. Just incredibly intense.
So we'll see how those extreme conditions forged a mindset that can help you lead and win, no matter what your battlefield looks like.
Mm.
Okay, so let's unpack this foundational concept first. It really underpins everything else they talk about. Extreme ownership.
Right.
At its core, it means a leader has to own, well, everything in their world. There's just no one else to blame.
Yeah, it sounds simple, but it's tough. It's about acknowledging mistakes, admitting failures, taking full responsibility.
Even for stuff you didn't directly do yourself. That's the kicker, isn't it?
Exactly. And that's where the deeper power lies, I think. It's not just standard accountability. It's really about setting your ego aside.
The ego.
Leaders aren't supposed to grab the credit for successes. Instead, they give that honor to their subordinates. And that creates a culture where junior leaders feel empowered, they step up, take charge.
Yeah.
And that boosts efficiency, effectiveness, like exponentially.
That setting ego aside part, it really hits home, especially when you think about the immense pressure commanders face in combat. Why is that humility so critical there?
Well, it's crucial because it builds a learning environment. If the leader immediately points fingers, the team doesn't actually learn from mistakes, does it?
Right, they just get defensive.
Exactly. But when the leader takes full ownership, even for errors their team made, it signals, psychological safety. It basically says, okay, we messed up. We will learn, we will improve, and we're moving forward together.
You see this so vividly in that Ramadi story. Leif Babin talks about this awful blue-on-blue incident. Friendly fire.
Yeah, horrific.
One Iraqi soldier killed, a SEAL wounded, and it happened because of a whole cascade of errors. Poor coordination, not getting proper PID positive identification.
Delayed situation reports, too. Side trips.
Right. And despite not being right there for every single mistake, Leif, as the commander, he just took complete ownership. He went straight to the wounded SEAL, apologized directly, and in the debrief, he just kept saying, "It was my fault," even when his guys tried to take the blame.
That level of humility right there,
Yeah.
that was absolutely crucial for them to learn and make sure it didn't happen again.
And they translate this straight to the business world. There was a VP of manufacturing, right? Facing losing his job because his big plan to consolidate plants, it just failed.
Yeah, and he was doing the classic thing, blaming everyone else, distribution managers, sales teams, saying stuff like, I can't make them listen to me.
A famous last words sometimes.
Right. And Jocko's coaching was pretty blunt. It was like, you can't make people listen, you have to lead them.
So the VP had to go to the board and admit his failure as a leader, that he failed to, quote, force execution.
Which must have been incredibly hard. But it shocked the board, apparently, in a good way.
Yeah.
Earned their respect.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it helped him turn things around. It's a total shift, from whose fault is it to what more can I do?
Yeah. So for you listening, think about it. Where are you maybe making excuses instead of grabbing that extreme ownership?
Good question.
Okay, next principle. No bad teams, only bad leaders.
When I first heard that, it sounded, I don't know, almost too simple. Maybe even a bit harsh.
I get that. It sounds like a slogan. But when you dig into it, especially with examples like the BUDS Hell Week 1, it gets pretty profound.
Right, because if the leader truly owns everything, like we just discussed,
Then the team's performance is a direct mirror, reflecting the quality of that leadership.
so the radical takeaway isn't just accountability, it's what? That a leader's failure to adapt is the failure.
Precisely. It forces leaders to do that hard inward look, to ask, okay, what could I have done differently to get this team, the team I have, to succeed, not the team you wish you had. And the BADS example nails this. Hell Week, basic underwater demolition SEAL training. Notoriously brutal.
Okay.
2 boat crews, boat crew the 6, always dead last, their leader. Kind of indifferent, blame the crew constantly, then boat crew the 2nd, always the best.
So the senior chief, one of the instructors, he decides to just swap the leaders.
Yep, just swap them. And the result was staggering. Boat crew the 6, same exhausted guys, they go from last place to first under the new leader, winning most of the races after that.
And boat crew to 2nd? Still did okay under the old leader, but they started losing some.
It was just undeniable proof. The leader was the single biggest factor.
And applying that to business. They worked with a CTO, Chief Technology Officer. His new product rollout failed.
And he blamed, let me guess, everything else.
You got it. Challenging market, industry flux, inexperienced people, bad communication with sales, poor customer service, the whole list.
Okay.
So they told him the SEAL boat crew story.
Okay.
And it clicked for him. He saw his own sort of victim mentality was actually holding his team back. Once he embraced extreme ownership, faced the facts, started acting, the team's performance turned around dramatically. The whole company rebounded. I've seen versions of this in boardrooms, Blame rolls downhill until someone at the top finally looks in the mirror.
It's powerful. So thinking about your own team's struggles, what stands out to you? Could it maybe be a reflection of leadership?
Always worth asking.
Okay, moving on. Principle 3, believe. It's not enough to just know what you're doing. You have to understand and truly believe in the why.
Yes. And as the leader, it's your job to make sure your team gets that why too. It's about purpose, not just tasks.
So this brings up the idea of commander's intent.
Exactly. Commander's intent. That's the overall purpose. It's the desired end state of an operation, and that guides every decision, every action, especially when things inevitably go sideways.
Right. Because if the leaders themselves don't buy in, don't believe,
their troops won't commit. Not really. Without that deeper why, all you have are marching orders, not true commitment. You get compliance maybe, but not ownership down the line.
So how do you get your team to genuinely believe, especially when the mission is incredibly difficult or maybe even unpopular?
You have to articulate that why with absolute clarity and conviction. Take Task Unit Bruiser in Ramadi. Initially, the SEALs were pretty ticked off, frankly.
Yeah, livid.
Livid, right. About having to conduct every single operation with these, quote, ragtag Iraqi soldiers. They saw it as a huge, unnecessary risk.
Understandable reaction.
But Jocko explained the strategic imperative. He laid it out. If the Iraqi military couldn't secure their own country, U.S. forces would be stuck there for generations. Working with them was, as he put it, their ticket to operate, their path home eventually.
Ah, okay, framing it like that.
That clear why unified the SEALs. And yeah, there were huge challenges. Iraqi soldiers accidentally firing AK-47s, even abandoning wounded comrades at one point.
Oh.
Terrible stuff.
Wow.
But the SEALs' understanding and belief in the why kept them focused. It led to mission approval and ultimately played a big part in stabilizing Ramadi.
And in the corporate world, same dynamic. They saw mid-level managers, a sales force, completely confused and resistant to a new sales compensation plan.
They knew the details of the plan, but not the why.
Which was?
To reduce company costs, which allowed them to lower product prices, making them more competitive, and ultimately drive more business for the high-performing salespeople.
Makes sense when you hear it like that.
Yeah, but it wasn't clear. Jocko just told the CEO, just tell him why. Plain and simple.
And once that strategic intent was clearly communicated,
the managers got it. They believed it. And then they could convey that belief authentically to their sales teams. Plan became a success.
So the question for you is, are you clearly articulating the why behind your directives, or are you kind of leaving your team guessing in the dark?
Crucial.
All right, next up, simple. Combat, like business, like life, really, it's inherently complex, right?
Oh, yeah. Unbelievably complex sometimes.
But a critical leadership principle here is to simplify as much as possible, because when plans get too complicated, they just break down, often spectacularly.
It's such an easy trap to fall into, isn't it? Making things more intricate than they need to be, maybe to seem smarter or cover all bases, but it backfires.
So what's the deeper insight here? Simplicity isn't just dumbing things down.
No, definitely not. That's a key point. Simplicity isn't about being simplistic. It's about achieving absolute clarity. And what's maybe counterintuitive is that getting to simple often takes more upfront thinking, more intellectual work, not less.
Okay, say more about that.
Well, truly simple plans, clear orders, concise communication, they're the result of deeply understanding the problem and stripping away the non-essential. It's a sign of mastery, not basic understanding. You have to make sure everyone knows their role, what to do, especially when things go wrong, when those inevitable contingencies pop up.
So the harder you work up front to simplify, the easier the execution is when things get chaotic.
Precisely. There's a really stark combat example. A U.S. Army MTT leader that's a military transition team planned this incredibly complex patrol.
NTT, right, working with Iraqi forces.
Yeah. This plan involved multiple battle space owners, heavily IED-laden areas, Iraqi soldiers the accompanying SEALs didn't even know, just layers of complexity.
Sounds risky.
Extremely. Jocko saw it and insisted they simplify the route, the plan, make it cleaner, clearer.
And during the actual patrol?
They came under heavy fire. Chaos erupted. But because the plan was now simpler, the communication was crystal clear. Things like building J-51, 2 wounded, need case evac. Immediate, understandable.
Case of casualty evacuation.
Right. That simple, clear comms allowed supporting tanks to respond rapidly and effectively. It prevented what could have been a truly catastrophic outcome. The MTT leader, who was initially maybe a bit overconfident in his complex plan, learned a huge lesson from that near disaster.
The business application.
A pharmaceutical company where employees were just totally confused by a super complex bonus plan. Nobody could figure out how their actual performance connected to what they earned.
Yeah, I've seen plans like that. Demotivating.
Totally.
Yeah.
Jocko pointed out the obvious. If people don't understand the link between behavior and reward or punishment, their behavior isn't going to change.
Makes sense.
So he stressed simplifying everything. Standard operating procedures, communication plans, even basic stuff like head counts. Keep it simple. And this focus on simplicity boosted efficiency, effectiveness, all without needing some major tech overhaul.
Good reminder. Where are you, maybe without realizing it, adding complexity to your work or your team's processes? Okay, let's talk decentralized command. The idea is you just can't effectively lead more than, say, 6 to 10 people directly, especially not in high-pressure situations.
Right. So true leadership, the way they define it, means empowering your subordinate leaders to make the calls.
It's about letting go of that direct control, isn't it? Which for a lot of leaders is really, really hard.
Oh, incredibly hard for some. But looking at the big picture, decentralized command is about pushing that decision-making authority down the chain of command.
So junior leaders aren't just waiting for orders.
Exactly. Junior leaders, because they understand the commander's intent, the one we talked about, they're expected to step up and say, okay, based on the mission, here's what I am going to do. Not, boss, what do I do now?
That sounds way more efficient, faster.
It fosters unified, rapid execution across the whole team. The entire mission can move forward much quicker because decisions are being made at the point of friction.
But how do you build that trust? How do you get those junior leaders confident enough to make those calls?
Well, it starts with training, obviously. Clear communication of the mission, the why. And then you have to actually give them the reins, let them do it.
Trial by fire, sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah, in training at least. They talk about MOUT training military operations in urban terrain. Initially, SEAL leaders tried to micromanage everything, like for up to 35 guys.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that wouldn't work.
Predictably failed in chaotic scenarios. So they learned, break down into small, manageable teams, 4 to 6 people, and trust your junior leaders, your squad leaders, your fire team leaders to make the tactical calls.
And in Ramadi.
During a really large, complex operation, multiple Army and Marine battalions involved Jocko as the overall SEAL Task Unit commander. He focused purely on the strategic coordination, the big picture.
While his platoon commanders.
They were making the critical real-time tactical decisions on the ground, like Delta Platoon needing to shift to a new building because the situation changed. Jocko wasn't directing that move.
He trusted them to do it.
Exactly. And that structure, that decentralized command, proved vital. There was a moment when a U.S. Army Bradley fighting vehicle almost fired on a friendly SEAL position. Because Jocko was monitoring the big picture, not bogged down in tactical details, he was able to see the potential fratricide develop and intervene, preventing a disaster.
Wow. Okay, and the business parallel.
They encountered a company president. His org chart was a mess. Some managers had like 22 direct reports. Others had just 2. Totally unbalanced.
Yeah, that span of control issue.
Right. And he also held information close, hoarding it, which totally prevents empowered leadership down the line. Jocko explained the ideal span of control is usually around 4 to 6 people. That allows leaders to actually be effective.
And connecting back to believe.
He stressed again, those subordinate leaders must understand why the mission matters, the commander's intent, so they can lead confidently without needing constant, explicit orders for every little thing.
So ask yourself, are you truly empowering your team? Or are you maybe trying to do everyone's job, trying to micromanage?
Big difference.
All right, principle 6, plan. Seems obvious, right? A great plan is the blueprint for victory. It starts with clear mission analysis using a standardized process.
It does seem obvious, but the way they approach planning is key. It's not just about drawing lines on a map or steps on a flowchart.
Okay, so what's the deeper level?
Well, a critical part of effective planning isn't just the strategy itself. It absolutely requires gathering detailed intel, really digging into the situation, and then carefully identifying potential risks.
And mitigating them where possible, right? Not just ignoring them.
Exactly. Mitigate what you can. And critically, continuously learn and refine through rigorous post-operational debriefs. The plan is never truly finished. It's always a living document, ready to adapt.
How important is building flexibility into that plan from the start? Because things almost never go exactly as expected, especially in combat.
Oh, incredibly important. Contingency planning is huge. Look at the high-stakes hostage rescue mission they describe in Ramadi.
Yeah, that was intense.
They got last-minute intel IEDs buried in the yard, bunkered machine gun positions they didn't know about. Could have derailed everything.
But their planning.
Their meticulous planning had already accounted for threats like these. They had steps built in to maintain the element of surprise, specific actions for potential enemy fortifications.
So they weren't caught completely flat-footed.
Right. Leif, as the assault force commander, gave just 3 critical priorities. First, stealth, then speed, good PID, and medical readiness. Super clear.
And Jocko as ground force commander.
He simplified the rules of engagement down to one essential directive. If you have to pull the trigger, make sure the people you kill are bad.
Wow, that's clarity.
Extreme clarity. And the result, a perfectly executed plan. Hostage rescued alive. Not a single shot fired by the SEALs on entry. They even made sure to credit an Army major whose expertise helped them plan, showing that leaning on others is part of good planning too.
That's amazing. And the business side?
A CEO of a pharmaceutical company. She presents this state of the company brief, and it's just packed with tons of new initiatives to turn around declining revenues.
Trying to do everything at once.
Exactly. So Jocko asks her, okay, what is your single highest priority? Force her to choose. She identifies managing sales force activity.
Okay, focus.
Right. Jocko advises, focus all your efforts, your resources on that one thing until it gains real momentum. Then move to the next priority. Don't dilute your efforts.
And did it work?
Yeah, that focused approach unified the whole company's efforts. They started seeing significant progress quickly because everyone was pulling in the same direction on the most important thing.
So how much time do you actually dedicate to planning, to debriefing, and really prioritizing your team's efforts? Or are you just reacting?
Good self-reflection question.
Principle 7, decisiveness amid uncertainty. The reality is the picture is almost never 100% clear, is it?
Rarely ever, especially when stakes are high and time is short.
So leaders have to make the best call they can with the information they have right now, imperfect as it might be. And crucially, act based on logic, not emotion.
Yeah, it's easy to get paralyzed, waiting for just one more piece of information, wanting certainty. But that hesitation, that inaction born from fear of uncertainty, it's often the most catastrophic choice a leader can make.
So decisiveness here means being comfortable with calculated risk, not waiting for perfect data.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that often a good decision made quickly is far better than a perfect decision made too late, or no decision at all.
But can you give an example where the decisive action was actually not to act, even under intense pressure?
Absolutely, and it's a powerful one. Sniper Overwatch mission. Chris, Kyle, the legend, identifies a potential threat. Guy with a scoped weapon in a building.
Okay, sounds like a target.
That's what the U.S. Army company commander thought. He insisted Leif, the SEAL platoon commander on the ground, take the shot. Now, immense pressure.
Yeah, I can imagine. Eliminate the potential sniper.
But Leif refused. He couldn't get positive identification, PID. And critically, he knew there were too many friendlies in the area. He couldn't be 100% sure it wasn't one of their own guys.
So what did he do?
He made the hard call to push for ground troops to go back and re-clear that building, putting those soldiers at additional risk instead of taking the shot.
Then the aha moment.
The enemy sniper turned out to be U.S. soldiers entering the building from a different direction. Leif's decisive non-action, his refusal to shoot without certainty despite the pressure, averted a horrific friendly fire tragedy.
Wow, that takes guts, making the call not to shoot.
Huge guts and huge discipline. Now contrast that with a business case. Darla, CEO of an engineering subsidiary, she's facing this crisis.
What was it?
Two senior engineers, Eduardo and Nigel, highly valuable, but they were feuding constantly, undermining each other, threatening to leave, potentially taking key people with them. Total dysfunction.
And Darla was
Paralyzed.
Yeah.
Frozen by uncertainty, fear of losing talent, fear of making the wrong move.
So Jocko's advice?
Radical. Fire both of them.
Wow.
Both. His reasoning, they weren't acting like leaders. Their constant fighting was toxic and detrimental to the whole team. And crucially, there were high-potential people on the front lines ready for a battlefield promotion.
So clear the way for new leaders.
Exactly. Darla acted decisively, fired them both, quickly promoted new leaders who actually had a good working relationship.
Yeah.
The dysfunction ended almost immediately, and the company got stronger.
That's decisive. So for you listening, what decisions are you maybe delaying right now because you feel like you don't have perfect information?
Is waiting actually the best strategy?
Okay, this next one is a favorite of mine because it sounds like a contradiction. Discipline equals freedom.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive, isn't it?
Yeah.
But so powerful. The idea that having strict order, adhering to disciplined procedures, actually creates more flexibility and freedom down the road.
It seems like the opposite should be true. More rules, less freedom.
Right, but think about it. The more disciplined a team's basic procedures are, their standard operating procedures, their SOPs, the less mental energy they have to spend on routine stuff.
Okay.
So when chaos hits, when the unexpected happens, they have more mental bandwidth, more operational capacity to adapt, to be efficient, even to be creative because the fundamentals are locked down. That discipline provides a solid foundation to operate from.
So the discipline handles the basics, freeing you up to handle the complex stuff.
Exactly. But there's a key nuance here, the dichotomy they talk about later. While more discipline usually leads to more freedom, you can overdo it. If discipline becomes too rigid, too restrictive, imposed from the top down, without considering the reality on the ground, it can actually stifle initiative. It can prevent frontline leaders and troops from making necessary adjustments. So finding that balance is critical. Too little discipline is chaos, but too much can be paralyzing in a different way.
Okay, finding that sweet spot again. Can you give the combat example for this?
Yeah. Initially, the SEALs used a really basic kind of undisciplined method for searching buildings during raids. They called it the ransack.
Sounds messy.
It was slow, inefficient. They often missed crucial evidence or intel. So a new, highly systematic search procedure was implemented.
What did that involve?
Things like drawing quick sketches of the layout, numbering rooms methodically, assigning specific room owners responsible for searching and collecting evidence in properly labeled bags, followed by meticulous debriefing. Much more structured.
And the team's reaction?
Initially. Resistance. This will take too long. This is going to get somebody killed. The usual pushback to change. Rehearsals quickly proved the opposite. The discipline method was way faster. Search times dropped from like 45 minutes down to just 10 minutes per building.
Wow, that's huge.
Huge. This disciplined efficiency gave them vastly increased freedom to operate. They could hit multiple targets in a single night, gather more intel, have a much bigger impact. Willink also talks about personal discipline, like using 3 alarm clocks to make sure he woke up early for extra work or study. That personal discipline created freedom in his schedule and effectiveness.
Interesting. So think about it. Where could more disciplined habits, personally or professionally, actually create unexpected freedom and efficiency for you?
It applies everywhere.
So, okay, our final principle really ties a lot of this together, the dichotomy of leadership.
Yes, this is maybe the most nuanced one.
It says effective leadership isn't about being at one extreme or the other. It's about finding the balance between seemingly opposing forces.
Exactly. Like being aggressive, but not reckless. Confident, but not cocky. Humble, but not passive. Taking care of your people, but still accomplishing the mission. It's a constant tension.
And the core idea is that a leader's greatest strength, if you push it too far, if it's unchecked, can actually become their greatest weakness.
Precisely. The power of understanding this dichotomy is in the need for constant self-assessment and calibration. A leader has to constantly adjust their approach based on the situation, the team, the mission. What worked perfectly yesterday might be the wrong move today if the context changes or if you take it too far. You have to stay in equilibrium.
It really highlights how much continuous self-awareness is demanded by true leadership. It's not a static thing.
Not at all. Always dynamic.
Can you give us a business example of this balancing act?
Sure. There's the story of CEO Andy. He kept an unprofitable electrical division running purely out of loyalty to its leader, Mike, who was an old friend.
Okay, loyalty. That's generally seen as a strength, right?
Absolutely. Loyalty is crucial. But here, it was unbalanced. This loyalty was jeopardizing the financial stability of the entire company. The CFO was warning him, "We're bleeding capital, vulnerable to any unexpected hit."
So the strength, loyalty, was becoming a weakness, financial risk.
Exactly. Jocko challenged him directly, pretty bluntly. So one of your men is more important than the mission, than the rest of the company and all the other employees.
Oof.
Tough question.
Right. Jocko used this powerful analogy of a World War II sailor having to secure the hatch on a flooding compartment, locking it down to save the entire ship, even if friends were trapped inside. A brutal but necessary leadership decision for the greater good.
So Andy had to.
Andy had to make the disciplined, balanced decision. He closed the division. It was incredibly difficult, personally and professionally. But it secured the company's future, protected everyone else, and ultimately, it actually strengthened his leadership because he made the tough, necessary call. That's a powerful example of balancing loyalty with mission accomplishment. So, final reflection point for you. Think about your own leadership. What's a core strength you possess that, if you don't keep it in balance, could potentially become your biggest vulnerability?
It's a deep question.
So, wrapping this up, this deep dive has really shown us that leadership, well, the principles might sound simple.
Yeah, like extreme ownership, believe. Simple.
But putting them into practice is far from easy. It takes constant effort, self-awareness, discipline.
Definitely. The lessons forged in Ramadi Extreme Ownership, no bad teams, believe, simple decentralized command, plan, decisiveness, discipline equals freedom. They offer this really powerful framework for success, basically anywhere.
But as Willink and Babin themselves stress, and this quote really sticks, much of what we learned or relearned has existed for hundreds and in some cases thousands of years. But although these principles are often simple to understand in theory, it can be difficult to apply them in life.
Yeah, that's the core challenge right there.
Yeah.
Knowing is not the same as doing.
So we'll leave you with this thought. Which of these powerful principles will you choose to consciously, deeply integrate into your own leadership, into your own life, starting today? How will you use them to lead your team to victory?
Because ultimately, your battlefield, whatever it looks like, is waiting.